I used to think that energy efficiency directives or any directive from Europe actually wasn't that important. The UK itself has, I think, a reasonable reputation for leadership, and it was frankly faster done at a national level. We had zero carbon homes, very ambitious policy. We had big policies in terms of retrofit of homes. So therefore, why do we need this Europe bit? It is just following behind. And my mind has gone 180 degrees. Politicians, perhaps inevitably, flip-flop. So it's all very well, these big statements. Ultimately, it doesn't take much for them to be completely reversed, leaving a lot of companies high and dry. And I kind of, at times, get why they would even do that. So it's not a complete criticism of politicians, although they could be a lot stronger. It's more a case of that they are under pressures and they respond to them. And that's where a European directive is terrific, because it's there. They believe and indeed need to comply with it. So it's something that can be signed up to on a collective basis if they're quite long term. That helps. But ultimately then it provides this framework which they can't wriggle out of. So even the ones that want to do the right thing, it gives them a framework for justifying them maintaining a course of action, which we've seen quite recently with regard to the renewables. So one for the energy efficiency side of energy, terrifically important, and I welcome it wholeheartedly. So Article 4 requires a strategy that has to be put into place by the UK. So there's no wriggling out of that. Therefore, the ministers are responsible for overseeing this, many of which genuinely want to make some movement in this space, have cover. They can do this without being criticised because they can, frankly, blame Europe. Yeah? So why not? This is something that they know will deliver the stuff that mostly they want to deliver. So this is the reason for them putting something in place that is sensible, justifiable, and provides that trajectory which, in the absence of the directive, they would struggle to justify. So yes, get on with it. More certainty in terms of energy efficiency. Well, Willmott Dixon is a major contractor. We set up a specific division to work on energy performance within buildings, of which we're a big player in new ones and also retrofit of existing ones, turnover about £1 billion. Everything we do is discussed at a board level, and they make a judgment about return on investment, like any other company. So we're sat having the same discussions as we have every time about this time in year, looking at what is the direction of travel. And frankly, with the changes that we've just experienced on the eco energy company obligation, previously embedded in the mindset of the business is what happened with PV a few years ago. So when we're talking about ambitious plans to expand and invest in this area, we've got a whole series of areas, aspects that the business feels let down. So we need to actually start to rebuild trust and belief in the future. And Article 4 provides us with something that now needs to be bigger than national politicians, to give, frankly, the board a better sense that this will really happen, yeah? And those that have to present to the board some level of credibility that what you're saying this time really is true. The great thing about having a housing stock that is so bad, and average fuel bills of, £1,400 and rising, is that's a super opportunity. So if we just play with those numbers a bit and assume there are 26 million homes, and we assume that we could reduce the average bill by, say, 25%, yeah? That saves the UK £10 billion per year. £10 billion. All the other benefits, the jobs, what's that going to be? 100,000, 150,000 jobs. Tackling fuel poverty at the same time, affecting the balance of payments. Money stays in the UK rather than being exported by buying in fuel. The health benefits. Oh, and by the way, climate change. So if we actually wrap this up as to what is the benefit to the UK, I've just been touching on the domestic side, let alone the non-domestic. You know, if an alien was to land, they would seriously ask, what on earth have you been doing? Because it's just so obvious. In terms of delivering national renovation strategies, I used to think that giving a fairly well thought out idea with a good supporting evidence was enough. And I guess over the last few years, particular examples, Green Deal, Eco, have demonstrated it can be a great idea, but how it is implemented is so important to success. So I think for the Green Business Councils, just asking for stuff has never been enough. Asking stuff and framing why it's important is okay, but actually it is working up a oven-ready proposals, or a number of oven-ready proposals that meet most stakeholders' needs, such that government is much more able to pick these up, test them, refine them, and then implement them, as opposed to try to start the design process themselves. Because far too often that goes wrong.